Hello, I think we are live. Welcome to the Workplace Wellness Collective's very first Fireside Chat. I am so thrilled to be here. My name is Nicole North. I'm president of Whiteboard Consulting, and I am a board member of the Workplace Wellness Collective. The Workplace Wellness Collective is a collective of a group of entrepreneurs and individuals that are incredibly passionate about workplace wellness, whether that's through mental health, diversity, equity, and inclusion, leadership. That's particularly my passion. So, how can we support leaders and give the skills to leaders so that leaders can create and empower teams to manage their workplace wellness? And I am so thrilled today to be joined by Brenda Pearson. Brenda Pearson is a chief happiness officer and founder of Brenda Pearson Consulting. And I was introduced to Brenda maybe last year sometime. Welcome, Brenda. And
Hello.
supported a number of projects that I was working on last year in helping to create a mindset for leaders and a mindset that help people transform through change and all of those things. So we are thrilled to have everyone here today, and especially Brenda, on talking about mastering your limitless mindset. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining, and apologies for getting a couple moments late up and running, but excited to hear. We have a jam-packed session today with lots of great topics and content to share. And actually, Nicole, I don't know if I shared this with you. I did share this with you before, but I actually moved in a fireplace just for fun in the back. I don't know, oops, I have to go the other way because I've got it on mirror there. I don't know if you can kind of see, but I got a little fireplace going on in the back because I thought little fireplace chat in honor of that. I'd kind of quickly throw one in there. So I thought that was pretty funny to do.
I love that. I was actually going to set myself up in my living room upstairs with a glass of non-alcoholic wine because it's only 12 o'clock and I don't drink. But aside from that, I had this whole vision of setting myself up. But my whole family is down with the flu and all the kids are home.
No.
I'm a bit sick. So, but I also have a little fireplace going right there. So it is on and keeping us toasty. That's that little white thing back there. So we are ready.
I love it. I see the comments, cigar and brandy. Fantastic. That might be for yeah, I guess it is in the afternoon. Why not, right? Awesome. That's great. So thank you so much. Yeah.
My pleasure. Everyone for being patient. Let's get started. Brenda, why don't you introduce yourself? Because as much as I can read your bio, you're always going to be able to talk about yourself better. Hit us up.
Oh, I don't know about that, but again, thanks everybody for coming. Brenda Pearson Coaching. I'm 20 plus years in the talent and career management. Oh, there's my logo. I love it. career management space. I would say most notably my experience has come from leading and being director of the MBA career management team at Ivy Business School. And there I'd worked with, thousands of incredibly talented MBA students. And honestly, Nicole, one of the big themes that came out from working with them for over 13 years and coaching and developing different programs and workshops was this common theme and pattern that kept on arising was this fear of failure, these insecurities, the idea that, everybody's going to find out I'm a fake, everybody else has got this, I don't have this, I don't have what it takes to do X, whatever, insert whatever. And I thought, if these individuals who are already highly accomplished in their careers and in their lives feel this way, then I'm kind of guessing most people feel this way. And this really has inspired me to be honest, like to go down the rabbit hole and nerd out on all things mindset, imposter syndrome, confidence, and personally, I feel like it's something that I've always struggled with. People that know me and have known me from an early age can definitely attach the word insecure to my name. So, when it comes to my company, I decided to sort of self-proclaim that I'm my own chief happiness officer. Why not? When you start a company, you can do any title you want, right? And really, it's my mission to help individuals, equip them to realize their own potential, as well as equip them with the tools and mindset so that they can bring their best and I say real self to work. And I say every day, but we are human. So I'm going to say in most days. So that's a little bit about, I would say, me and my background and what brings me here and makes me so excited about talking and speaking about mindset today.
I love that. And I a great connection to workplace wellness. When people are feeling stress, pressure, perhaps they're in a environment, those confidence levels can plummet. Your ability to have that, I always call it self-efficacy, right? That ability to figure out that, that idea that I can figure out things, I can solve problems, things, I can try things and do it. Sometimes that self-efficacy plummets. And we've also seen throughout the past 2 years, because we've had less resilience, because we've gone through immense amounts of change, that self-efficacy drops. So for me, the ability to have this limitless mindset, this open mindset, and ability to do things can really promote your wellness because it makes you feel good. So that chief happiness officer title is right on the money, Brenda, because when you reiterate and reinforce these concepts for clients and for even me, I listen to our podcast every once in a while when I need a confidence boost. I really feel that happiness. So welcome, Brenda, with your 20 years of progressive experience across the career and talent management sector. We're so thrilled to have you. Your 10,000 hours of coaching and interviewing all of those clients. We know that you are going to share a lot with us. And so let's jump right into it.
Let's do it.
What do you mean by a limitless mindset?
Yeah, so I think it really does start off with understanding the concept, I would say first and foremost, of what a mindset is. And I can see when I look at who's here today, so I see Michelle, Anne, Steve, Sumana, I think I saw Meredith here as well. I feel like for the most part, we're going to be preaching to the choir, but I hope this, and I understand that this will be recorded and if we can amplify and get these messages out. So I think first and foremost, let's just ground and understand the concept of mindset. And really a mindset is a way in which you view the world. It helps to dictate, your own beliefs, your own thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately drives your actions and what you do. So I think just in a nutshell, first and foremost, a mindset is something that's just the way you view the world, the frame, and the filter with which we view the world. And it's interesting to note that we all don't view the world in the same way because it comes from all of these experiences that we've had throughout our life. And that helps to shape, again, our own perception of how we go through life and experience different situations as well. So first and foremost, I think it's important just to ground the concept of mindset so that we're all, I would say, sort of playing from the same ballpark, so to speak. I'm going to use a lot of baseball analogies today. We're headed into the September sprint and playoffs, and I'm a big Jays fan, so bear with me. But if you're not necessarily a baseball fan,
I love it. So mindset is how we approach the world, and that is based on our past experiences, maybe even what's happening currently in our lives. It's all of these things layered in, and there's also some brain chemistry there too, isn't there?
There's absolutely brain chemistry that deals with that, and I think we'll do a little bit of a deep dive on the role of the brain when we start to kind of unpack a little bit more of why we experience this. But I think I do want to actually answer your question. I do this. I want to answer your question of what a limitless mindset is, because I think, but I'm going to do typical Brenda style. I'm going to do it in a way that answering it in the opposite, and I think, because I think often we can recognize what the opposite of a limitless or a winning or a growth mindset may look like. And I didn't make all of this up. I nerd out on tons of podcasts and books on this, and I try to curate sort of the best of the best. And obviously, the godmother, so to speak, or the queen of this is Carol Dweck, right? She's the author of Mindset, and she talks about a growth and fixed mindset. So I'm going to delve a little bit into the idea of like a fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset is something, and again, I think I'm preaching to the choir. Most of you can pretty much understand. It's something where you are sorry, Nicole just disappeared, got a little distracted, but we'll vamp and we'll go with this. But a fixed mindset, and then the opposite is ultimately when you're resisting change, when an individual views the world as, I would say, their history is their destiny. They make excuses for not being successful. They don't believe that they have an ability to change and grow and be better. They may view circumstances more in a negative fashion, and mantras that you may hear throughout conversations with individuals that might have a fixed mindset are things like, this is the way it's always been, or I can't do this because I'm X. So again, it's the idea that my history is my destiny and that I'm not necessarily meant for growth and to be able to develop and see the world more in a constructive, evolving light, rather more as a stagnant light. I don't know if you can throw in the chat if you know people like this, or sometimes maybe you are a person like that from time to time. Because I do think it's also important to understand that I also don't believe people are one or another. I think people can kind of float in and amongst more of a limitless or a positive mindset, and more of a negative or fixed mindset from time to time. It can be seasonal depending on what's going on in your life. Let's
Brenda,
face it. Oh, yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi.
You are here. Good.
I'm here. I wanted to
Awesome.
ask, what does that fixed mindset sound like? What are the phrases you'd hear from someone when they're in a fixed mindset? Because I think that really helps people kind of viscerally understand what that means.
Yeah. I think it's the idea that, I mean, I'll take it personally. It's like, oh, I've never been good with numbers. Or, you know what, I'm too old to do this, or I'm too young to do this. It's also somebody, maybe not what it sounds like. Sometimes it's what it doesn't sound like when they're in a meeting and they're the quiet one and they're not contributing and they're just being quietly possibly taking things in. It also can be the complete opposite, where it could be, and we all know those people, the smartest person in the room, where they may overtalk and try to overcompensate as well. But the biggest one is the biggest mantra, and I'm sure we've all heard it, that's not how or this is how it's always been. We've never done it that way before. So when it's like resisting change, I think those are some mantras and what it actually looks and actually sounds like.
Yeah. And I think often when we hear that kind of fixed mindset talk, and let me know if I'm on the right track with this one, Brenda, but you should be able to refute it. Like, what tells you so? Or as Kelly says in the comments, I definitely know those people. We've always done that. And if you can refute it with, well, tell me if that's the only way to do that, right? Then you can stop it. Or, we can't do it that way. What tells you so? What is actually stopping us? So when it's like a one question kind of nips it in the bud. Do you know what I mean? It kind of can squish it very easily. So you can tell it's a fixed mindset statement if you can almost squish it away in one question. Squish it away in one question.
And this is what term. And this is exactly why I think it's so important that we have a deeper understanding of mindset and the role that it plays in our lives. I actually believe it's going to breed a lot more empathy, and possibly you have the headspace to recognize and go, oh, that person's in a fixed mindset moment. Something's going on more deeper with them, and there may be some more deeper insecurities that they're actually grappling with as well. And so absolutely that can, I think, breed a lot more empathy. And I think that ties into overall workplace wellness when we can be a little bit more empathetic with each other. But empathy, it doesn't, to your point, Nicole, it can't just stop at empathy. It needs to then from there pick up the conversation and somehow bring it to more of a constructive or forward-moving place. So to your point, the limitless piece, and I think that's where it comes in when somebody who has a little bit more of an open, positive mindset, they're the person, right, that they embrace learning. They're the ones that sometimes almost to the nth degree, because I work for people like that have all these shiny ideas and let's do this, and we could try this, and here's a new process, and here's a new product, and we could try that. But the idea that they're looking at things in a way that things can change and that things can be better and that they personally can change, and they're a little bit more open and I would say positive to moving forward and stepping out of their comfort zone, despite it being very uncomfortable.
So from your perspective, what's that linkage between limitless mindset and workplace wellness and overall health? I know I kind of mentioned my thoughts at the beginning, but from your perspective, where do those two connect? Why is it important?
Oh,
I'm stacking my questions. Let me stop.
yeah.
Why is it
Yeah.
important for us to build limitless mindset in order to preserve workplace health and workplace wellness?
Oh, I believe it's at the core and is at the center. And I did touch upon it a little. I think I'm going to group this into two buckets. One, more so from an individual. So if an individual is coming to work and has more of a sort of a limitless or an open or growth mindset, I would say that they don't get stuck in the perfectionism trap. That they're going to take maybe imperfect action, and they're going to be okay with making mistakes and view failures and mistakes as learning experiences and not beat themselves up and get that pit in the stomach and live there, but actually move forward. And then I believe, in terms of if you have a bunch of individuals, because I'd love to think leadership and the organizations themselves would set the tone. And yes, I don't want to let them off the hook. I think it is their ownership and responsibility. But if you have the leadership setting the tone for having an organization that embraces mistakes and encourages people to take imperfect action, then at the core with the individuals and the employees, if they're coming to work with that mindset, they're going to be a lot more accepting and open for other individuals who are coming in. Because let's face it, we're not perfect individuals, right? we're very much flawed. And I think, there's so many different phrases in terms of, cliches in terms of success success and failure and the linkage between that. So I do believe that, I think Carol DeWick actually landed this phrase, like avoiding a culture of genius and actually putting more sort of like a culture that shared humanity and that we're in this together. I mean, I can ramble on about this a lot, but that for me, I would say is the big core, the core linkage between mindset, limitless mindset, and workplace wellness.
Yes, Sumana just asked a great question, and I think we can, put it right in here. Can you talk about how to take imperfect actions? This is huge for burnout prevention.
Yes. Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, I think, personally with my role today, launching an entrepreneurship company, you can't wait for the perfect product to come up. You got to try different things. And so utilizing language in the workplace, and I've been in different companies where they have you utilize the word pilot, a 1.0 version. I feel like that's language that's safe to encourage people to go, okay, let's try this out and see how it works, and let's get it to market, and let's iterate, and we'll dual process, right? We'll try to deliver as best as we can at the time, but we're going to learn as we go. And so I think that's great examples of how to set a culture and some language around that. Very concrete examples. I know when people are launching websites, it may not be exactly what they were looking for, but they want to get it to the market and they want to send something, so it's 80%. I absolutely subscribe to sort of that 80-20, having 80% or feeling like 80%, you know what, it's good enough. Being okay with it being good enough. And then knowing that you're going to iterate and try to drive it up to excellence with the 20%. This is not an easy concept for many, and especially I can see all the overachievers that are part of this conversation. I'm sure this is not an easy concept to grasp.
Yeah, I love that strategy. So actually, one way to take imperfect actions and improve your mindset, because what I'm gathering here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when we obsess over that perfection, that's a limitless mindset or a fixed mindset, right? This can't go out until it is perfect. This isn't perfect, therefore I can't put it out. And we're kind of putting ourselves down this singular path that says, unless I can do this level of quality, then I might as well not do it at all. And a limitless mindset would say, let's change our language. Let's call this a pilot. Let's call this iteration.
Yep.
I know with a client right now, they have an extremely tight deadline, hence all the Post-it notes behind me there, extremely tight deadline. And for me, in my mindset, they kept saying, well, it'll just be, you'll do it and then you'll do it again and then do it a third time. And by the third time, it'll be perfect. And I was like, that language doesn't work for me personally, because the idea of redoing something over and over is a bit oppressive. But I did change the language and said, can we call it layering? For iteration 1 or for cohort 1, we are going to have this level of content or quality. And then we are going to layer in additional pieces to improve the overall experience or improve the user experience. So I love that as a strategy to manage your fixed mindset and help turn it into a limitless mindset, is by changing your language. So, two things. First, I want to say, it's pretty clear that if we have a limitless mindset, there are many benefits, including wellness, confidence. I don't know, throw in a few more that you can think of.
Yeah, performance, success metrics. I mean, there's a Harvard study that they divvied up 2 separate groups, growth mindset, fixed mindset individuals, and it was a very clear distinction in terms of the growth and limitless mindset individuals, that they perform better, so higher performance. So it definitely leading to a more fulfilling, meaningful life. I believe professionally, but probably even equally, and maybe even more importantly, with your family and with your friends, and how you're navigating through adversity and change, and helping to build up that resiliency that I think all of us, I believe, got put to the test in this last couple of years.
Amazing. And so what holds people back? I mean, this seems like something we should want to do. We should be perpetually focused on creating this mindset, both within ourselves and personally and at work and in our teams and in our organizations, to enhance wellness and performance. What holds us back?
Oh, there's the question, Nicole. That is the question. And before I answer it, I do want to just acknowledge, because I see a couple comments. And so thanks, Steve and Martin, for those comments, and I think very insightful. I guess everyone else can read them, so I don't know necessarily I have to, but I love. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for putting that up too, as well. So while you're reading these comments, so what holds people back? Because you're absolutely right. We know we should embrace growth, like all of us do. We know that we should do all of these things and incorporate habits to make ourselves more successful. And that thinking negatively and having negative thoughts doesn't provide us any benefit, but we still do it, and we still get stuck in this trap. And so this, for me, was where I really spent a lot of time, like I said, digging in and nerding out. And you touched upon this, so I'm circling back to your earlier comment, because you know how we've had many conversations on it's your own physiology and biology. So in a nutshell, I'm going to first off, I'm going to caveat, I am not a neuroscientist. I'm not a biologist at all. But the role between how we as humans are designed and our evolutionary history still plays an incredible role in terms of how we operate, see the world, and take action or don't take action. And so first and foremost, we as humans are built and designed more so to survive, not necessarily to thrive. And so I appreciate that, as God, whatever God or non-God you believe in, but all these beautiful creatures on earth, I think a lot of people just assume that we're put on and we're these special individuals, and we're going to do great things, and we are, but it is not our natural default. And so this I want to normalize, is the idea, ground and normalize this concept that at the core, when we are feeling nervous or insecure or afraid, it's because our earlier versions of ourselves should have felt afraid and nervous when there was a saber-toothed tiger, right, chasing us, and our very survival was basically threatened. And this is still passed on into our DNA today. So I appreciate that we don't have to go and hunt and gather our food right at this point, we can just quickly order, whatever we want and have it on our doorstep on Amazon the next day, sometimes even day of. It's crazy. So we don't have those types of survival realities, but what I think it does is it sets this automatic default and reaction we have to any situation. So when we get an email, as an example, in the workplace, and the first reaction, and maybe this is just me, I don't know, somebody in the chat, please correct, make me feel like I'm not the only weirdo. But sometimes, first and foremost, you go, oh, what's with that tone, right? Or oh, geez, they want me to do this. And then you kind of have a second to go, okay, and you rationalize it and everything. But I think having that moment, knowing that's our natural default, and that's all to protect us. It's to protect us, in our own very survival nature. So I think that's, first and foremost. Lots of comments on the side there that I'm seeing, which is wonderful.
Yeah. So there's this evolutionary biology that causes us to kind of resist change. And I think that's an amazing recognition. So we can all say, it's okay if you have these thoughts. It's okay if your first instinct is to go into a fixed mindset. That's normal. It's okay if you don't have a limitless mindset 1,000% of the time. Like, we can all pretend when we're here online that I'm perfectly positive. I'm not. My whole family's sick right now. I'm a pretty negative, fixed mindset, negative Nelly today. It's that idea of recognizing that that's natural. And then it's that we've talked about that brain idea that when your brain goes into fight or flight, your amygdala activates, right? And the amygdala is that part of your reptilian brain, your fight or flight mechanism. And I always have a fun fact that I share about this one is when your amygdala is activated, when you sense some kind of threat, your IQ actually drops by an equivalent of 20 points. And I say this line over and over, but I don't know about you, can't spare any IQ points at this point in my life. I everyone that I have. So simply recognizing that this is normal and simply saying to yourself, like, ooh, is that my fight or flight? Is that me just going into what comes naturally to me and perceiving this to be a threat or a challenge? Is actually stopping our brain patterns and helping us move to the prefrontal cortex, which is our logical thought process brain. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about neuroplasticity and what that means.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fixed limitless mindset.
Well, and I do want to kind of layer onto this first before we get into neuroplasticity, because I think there's another layer of our fight and flight, and this is something that you and I, Nicole, discussed in an earlier podcast. It also comes in the form of preserving energy. I think that's a good distinction that I think I know you love that point.
I love this concept. Everybody take notes right now, because this was a mind-blowing concept to me.
Well, I think here's the thing. So again, under this survival, our primary motive is to survive. A big motivation is for us to preserve energy. And so when we think about it, why, our earlier versions of ourselves would think, why would I go out and run a 10K run, right? Why would I go and try and train for a marathon and expend this useless energy here when I need to preserve it because I need to go out, right? And I need to hunt and gather. I need to protect. I need to go build, our own shelter. Like, all of this energy needed to be preserved for purely survival. And again, we think, well, that's kind of stupid. We don't have to do that now. Brenda, and working out is incredibly healthy, and of course it is. Exercise is 101, absolutely. But our earlier versions of ourselves would think this is ridiculous, and this has gotten passed down to our DNA. And so with that, it's so putting it back to reality, fast forwarding to our current life, that's why a lot of us snooze, right, in the morning. We're going to sleep. We want to rest. Our body, our natural biologic reaction is that we want to actually rest as much as we can. Getting up, like again, running a marathon, and then similar, when you get an email, putting it to the workforce, or when you get a new project on your plate, I think the first reaction is, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this, or that's going to take a lot of energy, or that's going to push me outside my comfort zone. All of these things play into why we resist change, and why we initially resist. Maybe again, I'm not weird. Thanks, Michelle, earlier for making a comment that I wasn't alone. So I appreciate that I'm not alone in this. But yeah, so I think that the energy, the idea of preserving energy is also a big one that I just want to kind of pull out of that survival piece for us.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this straight. So what that means is our brains are naturally wired to want to preserve energy. So it's normal if our boss came in and said, okay, everyone, we're revamping the whole process, for us to feel resistant, because that seems like an enormous expenditure of energy. So it's natural for us to want to resist it a little bit. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
And I think that's a very cool concept. So I think I want everyone, the main thing we want to get out of this limitless mindset piece is it's not abnormal to be resistant. It's not abnormal to be closed-minded. Our goal here is to become aware of it. Have this breath that says, is my resistance to this change truly resistant because I don't believe it's the right thing to do? Or is this my natural instincts kicking in? Is this my natural instinct to say, I don't want to expend this energy? Or is it my instinct to say, oh my goodness, I'm afraid of this change. It threatens me in my career in some way because perhaps I don't believe I'm capable of doing it. And that's how this all kind of fits in together. We have a natural predisposition to resist change, resist extreme effort. And our goal here today is to have us go, I caught myself. I know that's my natural tendency. And let me make a conscious, intentional shift to act with a more limitless mindset. And that might just start with limitless mindset doesn't mean like, yeah, I'm into redoing our whole website for no absolute reason. Yes, I'm in. That's just, but maybe toxic positivity. But what we're talking about is, okay, tell us more about what you envision about the website. Being open to the possibilities. Did I have it right?
Oh, you nailed it, as you always do. And I think just that recognition, my hope is that you won't beat yourself up and think, oh my gosh, I'm just one of these people that resist change. Everybody else seems that they've got it all together, that they're so motivated. It's just me that's this way. And I think it just helps us to give us a little bit more grace. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, there's so much layering that goes on. We're complex human beings. And again, I don't want to suggest this is one size fits all in terms of this all applying to this being universal, these concepts being universal. It's very much individualized, which is why I like to throw out a spectrum of ideas and see what kind of sticks and what resonates with individuals. But we can't ignore, so we talked a lot about our own physiology and biology and our evolutionary history, but we also can't ignore on the other side, like our socialization and how we've been brought up and our earlier experiences and what we were exposed to. That's everything from media to our friends group, to our family upbringing, to education, to our earlier experiences. Simon Sinek talks a lot about how earlier and that we're sort of already put into these boxes. There's the jocks, right? The whatever the whatever the computer kids or the band camp kids or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like they were sort of already. And I mean, again, if you look at a lot of the earlier teen movies, they kind of represent those categories. And so I think from a social construct, I think it's also important to understand our own upbringing and our cultures that we've been living and breathing and everything that we're consuming in terms of, again, media, TV, news, all of these types of things. It's interesting to note that, our brain is wired to because our brain is hardwired to focus on the negative, right? It's hardwired to kind of focus and scan for the negative, that it puts a lot of emphasis. So it's no wonder if you're looking to make money as a news media organization, you're not going to put on happy news all the time. It's going to be the opposite. So there's a lot of our own environment that I think plays into who we are. And I know we've kind of beat this horse so many times. That's a terrible analogy.
It's a good one. It's such a good one. So what I want to do, for just to let our audience know, I want to quickly talk about some approaches and frameworks to help equip people with a shift to a limitless mindset. And I see some great questions, comments, all great things happening over in the chat box. And I want to just hit those at the end, right? I want us to get through our approaches, finish up our masterclass, and then we will, as I love to say, and I'm sure we'll circle back. We'll circle back to the
I
chat.
say that too.
I know. We'll circle back and we'll come back to some of those chat questions and comments and address those. So right now, we understand that a limitless mindset is our ability to approach things in a way of, finding out the art of the possible, right? Seeing what is possible, being open to new situations, and having a bit of that self-efficacy that says, I can do hard things, I can do challenging things, and I can accomplish those things. And fundamentally, we are sometimes held back by our past experiences, our culture, our background, our upbringing, our work history, our work culture. And more importantly, we're fundamentally held back by our own brains. I mean, gosh, how painful. How painful for us as humans. But we're fundamentally held back by those things, and we have the ability to change them. And it can be as simple as taking this pause and recognizing that our brain is wanting us to lean in that direction, and we have the power to control it. So let's talk a little bit about neuroplasticity and some tools, approaches, and frameworks to shift to that limitless mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be remiss if we were talking about a limitless mindset to sit and live in this picture that we have painted, this doom picture, because it is not all doom and gloom as well. We have neuroplasticity. And so in a nutshell, neuroplasticity suggests that we can change, that our history, right, is not our destiny, that we don't have to be stuck in earlier definitions or constructs and boxes that we've put ourselves in. As an example, when I say that I'm not good with numbers, I was never good with math. Fast forward quite a few years later, I was in more of an analytical position, and I put myself in it. I'm like, actually, I'm a lot better than I thought. Or definitions, I remember very early on in my age that it was a Father's Day contest, and I was in grade 2. And I put up a picture of my dad, and it was bright orange with all his shavings and beard, and the whole class laughed at me and laughed at that. And so for me, I was like, I'm not good at art, so therefore I'm not creative. So I think a lot of times you put yourself in these boxes, and then yet as you evolve and grow and start to develop a little bit more of a limitless mindset, you can change, and that is the good news. And here's the other piece of great news is you don't have to do, I would say you don't have to do a lot. There are a lot of smaller things that you can integrate into your life on more of a daily basis, consistently, that I believe that will make a huge difference. So it's the idea that a small hinge, right, can move a big door as well. So, I mean, I'm always a big fan of, it starts with your body, and I'm not going to go on to that because I know there are many other sessions that talk about mind, body, and moving your body and the purpose of that. But in a nutshell, that releases a ton of different happy hormones and gets you to be in a good state in so many different. So I feel like when people ask me, where do I start? They start by moving your body first and foremost. But Nicole, but I think what we've talked a lot about, the power of get and yet. I know you coined that one. And so this is the concept of reframing things. And so what I mean by reframing, there's a situation that you're exposed to, and as opposed to just reacting emotionally and having these thoughts to your default, it's actually pausing and looking at things differently. So before we get into the power of getting yet, I'll give you another concrete example. This was Mel Robbins. She's the High Five Habit, the 5-3-2-1 as well. Fantastic author, speaker, thought leader in this whole space as well, in the mindset space. But she talks about the idea of jealousy. So jealousy, when you feel jealous of an individual, that feels, I'm going to say, it feels shitty. It feels crappy, right? It just makes you feel so insecure and less about yourself. But she has a great way to reframe it, that as opposed to looking at it as from a negative perspective, take it in as information, that absolutely, this is actually some data points in terms of maybe a life that I want. So I am not jealous of somebody who is cross-country skiing in minus 30 degrees weather, up north somewhere on vacation. That does not appeal to me. I'm admirable and respected, of course. But when somebody has this beautiful villa, in Mexico, right on the ocean, and with their beautiful spouse and eating wonderful food, drinking wonderful wine, and living it up, nice boat, and that, okay, jealousy is rearing its head. But for me, that's also information, because those are things that I want in my life as well. So anyway, I'll park. That's a lot of words I've said.
Tell us about the power of get and yet, and how that works, how we can transform our language and transform our current space of fixed mindset into one of limitless mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with, I guess I'll start with get, because I guess get comes first with that. So I think, again, going back to our natural default, it's like, oh, I have to answer that email, or I have to go to the gym, or I have to work on this project, or I have to work on the website, as opposed to saying I have to. If you just replace the have to with I get to, the one word, it's amazing how the power of words can quickly shift your mindset and how you view that situation. Again, I do believe repetition is important, because part of neuroplasticity is you're starting to create new neurons, right? Neural pathways in your brain as you're trying to develop these new patterns and thoughts as you emerge. So replacing that have to, right, with I get to. So that's the first one.
So think about all the things that you say you have to do. I have to respond to this email. I have to go wash the dishes. I have to do this. I have to go pick up the kids. I have to, and I find myself doing this and just kind of quickly saying, okay, it doesn't serve me to think about this as negative because I have to do it anyway. Right? So let me try and figure out, like, you know what? Yesterday I was like, I have to go pick up my son from daycare because he has a fever. And I was like, oh, now I won't get to work and I can't do this and I can't do that. And da, da, da. And I immediately said to myself, well, there is no other choice here. So how can I reframe this? And I was like, you know what? I will get to spend the day with Norman. And here's hoping he's extra snuggly and cuddly, because I know I only have that for a sweet moment in time. And I went, and picked it up, and we enjoyed our day together. And it was just a bit of a mindset shift. I was still a bit angry about it, but I was able to, spend some of that time enjoying. So think about to yourself right now, what are some things that you have to do, or phrases that you find yourself putting yourself in that fixed mindset? And can you switch that to I get to, or I get to do this, and here will be some other exciting results. Now tell us about the power of yet, because I think this one is great for, who was it? Was it Kelly that said her number one pet peeve was when people say, we don't do that here, or we've always done this.
Yeah.
I think this is a great.
It is a great one,
Kelly. Yeah. Thanks for putting that up, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you add the word yet at the end of a phrase or a sentence. So absolutely. So somebody in the meeting is saying, well, we've never done that yet. Or I'm not really good at numbers yet. Or I can't play a musical instrument yet. But if you end that sentence, that, any of these things and insecurities that we have, and we've got lots of these thoughts going through our brains at any given, actually 60 to 90,000 of them at any given moment, any given day, that if you can start to train yourself to put on the word yet, that just obviously starts to breed, I would say, more of a growth mindset.
Amazing. Let me see. What else do we have here? I want to keep mindful of time.
Oh, I know.
Because I am going to have to hop off at about 5:02, but I will leave Brenda on here if you want to answer any questions. Should we move? Do you have any other quick tips, low-hanging fruit, my other least favorite term other than circle back? And I use them both today. How wonderful for me. I love that for me. Any other quick tips on shifting into that growth mindset, limitless mindset?
I think I want to talk about two more things just very quickly, because I think I definitely want to leave at least 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A. I think the one thing is the idea of, and again, this goes under the reframing situations or I guess the idea is embracing progress. I think we as humans have been designed for the happily ever after, right? These perfect happy endings that we have. And even you see in the workplace where, when you deliver a project, that is celebrated, hopefully at some workplaces. Sometimes it's not, but the idea that it's always the outcome and the end result that I think often gets a lot of the attention and the accolades. But I think actually pulling back and taking time and being intentional to actually celebrate the inputs and the progress along the way. So as opposed to being focused on, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and then finally celebrate once I lose 20 pounds. And again, I'm not trying to body shame or whatever. I'm just giving a concrete example of something. But the idea that as opposed to celebrating that, why don't we celebrate, guess what? I had 3 days in a row where I didn't have dairy, or I didn't have alcohol, or I worked out 4 times this week, and I'm going to celebrate that instead. So I think celebrating the inputs and the progress along the way, and that's again another reframe. But again, as humans, we've been programmed, right, to focus in on the end result of things. So that's one, I would say. And then, do you think I've got time? I've got this 5R methodology that a 5R framework. And Nicole, you've heard me speak of this a few times. So I'll just give a 101. And if you're looking for more information on that, happy to either chat a little bit more about it, or I think I've got some posts on my LinkedIn as well. And we've got a LinkedIn audio. I guess this is a good time to plug that. We've got a LinkedIn audio tomorrow as well that we can expand a little bit.
Why don't you do your 5R? I'm going to type it into our private chat, and maybe Matt can display that as a comment, just so people can see that framework written in real form. Then I will do a quick little closeout, thank our sponsors and the Workplace Wellness Collective and all that jazz, and Matt from Love 'Em for Heaven. And then I will hop off, and I will leave you to go through those comments and answer questions. Does that sound okay?
That sounds perfect.
Perfect. So you give us that 5R framework. Hit us up.
Yeah, great. This is the typical Zoom thing. Can't believe I did the jazz hands. Anyway, all the goofy things we do.
Jazz hands, and something's wrong with me.
Yeah. So basically, this is a 5R. I call the 5R framework to reframing your imposter syndrome thoughts that we have. And so what it is it's 5 steps that we can take, and they all, of course, start with R, that we can take to change the way we think. As I'd mentioned, we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts going through our brain at any given day. I applaud the researchers who actually count those. But most of those thoughts are either like 90+% of those thoughts are repeat thoughts, or negative thoughts, again, because our brain is hardwired to go to the negative. So first and foremost, the first R would be recognize. So it's taking the space to actually be mindful, to recognize that thought, and to first understand and maybe question, is this actually true? And that leads in, I'm doing a quick 101, but that leads to the second one, is to, if it's not true, to refute it, to go, no, actually, or even just a mantra, is this true? And then if you determine it's not, like, shut up, that's not true. That's not the case at all. And you might even be able to rationalize it in some way. The third step is kind of the fun one, where I call it ridicule. And so it's this thought that says, I'm not good enough, they're going to find me out, everyone else has got this figured out. If you can actually ridicule it by possibly putting a silly voice to it, providing an avatar or another individual or naming it as an example. So as an example for me, the silly voice I use, and I'm not going to do it here because I don't want this to ever go out,
I'll happily do my own silly voice.
Oh, you're amazing. But Ralph Wiggum, someday, I may do it someday, but Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons, that for me is one of the more annoying voices. Somebody else would say Gilbert Gottfried was an annoying voice that you could kind of put in, and then you can't take that thought seriously.
Yeah, the other thought in your mind is, I can't do that. if you give it a silly voice, like, I can't do that,
Exactly.
it suddenly sounds very silly. So it's a kind of way of tricking your brain. I love it. Recognize, refute, ridicule. Number 4.
Yep. Number 4. Number 4 is replace. You got to replace it now with a mantra. Mindy Kaling, she's like, I'm Mindy effing Kaling, right? Like, who do they think I am? Or it could be a mantra is of just basically, you know what? I'm doing my best, or I got this, whatever it is. It could be a quick mantra, but a quick, it's a quick replace. And then the last one is obviously repeat. So once again, repeat as well.
I love that.
So
I
yeah.
just put that in the chat, and maybe Matt can throw that into onto the screen for us. The 5R framework for reframing your imposter syndrome is recognize, refute, ridicule, replace, and repeat. And so with this last minute for me, I want to thank Brenda for our very first fireside chat with real fires. Both of us put them in our room today. So they're there. You just can't see them behind our chairs, but we tried. They're there somewhere. Other side. There you go.
There we go. I know it.
Thank you for joining us for our very first fireside chat. We hope there are more to come. Thank you for our sponsor, Brenda Pearson Consulting. Thank you for our technical support from Lemon from Heaven. Matt, thank you so much. We so appreciate
thank you.
Assistance. And of course, to the Workplace Wellness Collective. We are a collective of individuals that are supporting workplace wellness in every form that it manifests itself. So I want to thank everyone. I am going to leave Brenda with the comments. I am going to hop to another call very quickly, a little training session I have. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, everyone. And I leave you with our host genius right here.
Thanks so much, Nicole, for always being a great partner in crime. I love it.
You're welcome. See you soon.
All right. I suppose then this is the time for some Q&A. If we've got, there's about 5 minutes left if we have some questions. I know that there were some questions earlier on, but I don't know if we want to revisit those and put those on the screen as well. Aha. Okay, Martin. Thanks, Martin, for all your comments and for engaging here. So how do I master my limitless mindset for somebody who has heavy ADHD? I'll get really bored easily, but if I'm building something, I feel more inclined to put my energy into it. And so I guess first and foremost, so my body supercharges energy and selects how much energy is dispersed based on my happiness. I appreciate ADHD. It's further amplified. All of these pieces in terms of, I think that's a normal default for many people, but it is 100% amplified if you have ADHD. So I actually don't want to overstep my expertise, because I know there are some coaches that actually specialize in this space, and this is a special niche that I actually have some colleagues that I know that go into it. But I'm hoping that some of the comments and some of the takeaways that I have given today, I do think tapping into your why and motivation always tends to fuel activity within a direction. And I do think this borders a little bit on productivity and time management hacks. One recent hack that I've recently discovered was, and this is a really silly little one. So I know that there's probably even more expertise in this house here today. When I say house, on the in the participants, was actually, it was interesting. The playing YouTube video, like going on YouTube and playing video game music, because video games are designed to get you to stay and sit. And it's amazing how I know individuals who do have ADHD, how they're able to still focus and spend a lot of time on video games as well. And so while I'm working, I actually started playing video game music, and you know what? It actually works. That's a small, tiny hack, and it's a deeper issue, and it's probably a great idea for even a full-on session as well. But as I said, I don't want to overstep, because I know that other people have such a specific expertise as well. Great, thank you. I'm glad that you put up Michelle's. Thanks, Michelle. So it's been my expertise. I haven't had a chance to fully read the comments. I'm reading it as we go. That my experience that individuals typically do not behave positively when they don't feel safe and where there's a lack of trust in the workplace. Would you agree that an unhealthy workplace culture is perceived? If so, what is on, sorry, if so, what is one action that a leader can do to shift that mindset? That's so brilliant. I think most of us have had, unfortunately, have worked in toxic work environments. And again, I am sure we could have a lively discussion on one of these sessions in terms of that. I know me personally, and I've seen colleagues of mine and people I'm currently coaching right now in my practice, and previously that have worked for toxic managers who are even bullying. And so I think it depends on the extent of the environment. There's probably a few things. So as leaders, what you can do, I hope that you can set the tone and the pace. And actually, I think it was Arlene Dickinson I heard in a podcast. Basically, I was just listening to this just yesterday. It's funny, and I don't know how realistic this is, but she basically has a zero tolerance policy, where as a leader, if she recognizes that there's somebody who is negative in the environment and consistently negative, she actually takes steps to get rid of them. And I mean, that's very glib and that's not very constructive, I appreciate. But I think it's setting a tone that that disrespectful behavior is not tolerated, and modeling it themselves. It's tough and it's complex, and I appreciate it's not as easy as just getting rid of individuals. But early on, if you start to see signals with people that you hire within that small window of time where it might be easier, might be a better option. In my experience, I've had a lot of years on this planet, and in my experience, and this might be controversial, but I don't believe it's really hard for those individuals to change when they're fairly negative individuals. I don't know, maybe people you can throw in if you agree or disagree, but that's my thoughts. And anyway, I do want to be mindful because I know we are hitting at the 1 p.m. Mark. I'm okay to stick around. I don't know, Sumana, if that's cool or not, but I'm okay to stick around for a few more minutes if people want to chat or have any more questions as well. But I think it's probably a wise idea that I'll formally wrap up the session. And then if people want to stick around for any other, questions, just through the chat, I'm happy to do that. So first and foremost, great. Okay, so I do not see any more questions as well. So I think first and foremost, so I want to thank everybody for coming and their engagement. I hope you were able to gain at least one nugget, maybe one light bulb went off today. There really is, I'd say, three things that I hope people leave when I speak about this topic. I think first and foremost, I want to highlight that you're not alone, right? That we all have these moments of insecurities and negative thoughts, and that secondly, it's our predisposition to default to more of a fixed mindset and to not be naturally predispositioned to thrive as well. And then lastly, I would say the good news is there's neuroplasticity, and we can change and we can evolve and we can thrive and we can build these meaningful lives. It might be like pushing water uphill. It's work though. And I think when you start to recognize and give yourself space to understand that, I believe we can all do some great things as well. So that's a wrap, I would say, of the session. So Nicole and I are doing a LinkedIn audio tomorrow, and I believe it's at noon Eastern Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to quickly double check. So I believe it's at the exact same time as today. And the information, Sumana, the information, I think you found us all. Probably find out where it is where you found us. But it'll be posted on my LinkedIn. It'll be posted likely on Sumana's and Nicole's as well. But I want to thank everybody, and especially I want to thank so much the Workplace Wellness Collective. You are an amazing group of individuals. I admire and I feel honored and humbled to be even part of this. So again, I want to thank everybody, and have a great rest of the afternoon, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow. Well, won't see you, but we'll hear you tomorrow as well. Awesome. Thank you.